Do you want to buy sewing patterns but you're afraid of making a mistake? Then this video and this upcoming series is for you. Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Delia and I'm a fashion designer who helps self-taught sewists and DIY designers create clothes that last and that show off their personality. And today we're going to go over the most common mistakes people make when buying patterns so you can avoid them altogether and buy with confidence. So why do we need sewing patterns? Technically, you don't really need a pattern, but it is very helpful when starting out. A sewing pattern is actually the guide you use or follow to make clothes. So patterns are the guide and the pieces that will eventually help you build up the clothes. Each pattern is a flat piece cut out in paper or muslin or whatever, what have you. It's a flat piece, and as you join them like a puzzle or as you sew them together, your garment starts to come to life. You start to see the curve of the body or whatever details that are in the pattern. So it's basically a guide to follow to put the clothes together. Now, where this gets tricky is there are so many patterns out there, so many, and there's no standard for them to follow. So your big five do what they want to do. Your indie patterns do what they want to do. And it's hard to understand what you need to know to buy the pattern because one rule from over here does not apply to over here. A pattern company from over here can do A and a pattern company from over here can do B. And there's no regulation in between them. Where that gets complicated is when you don't know what you're buying or you don't know what you're looking for, you get overwhelmed. So I can be looking at this pattern and yes, all the information is right in front of me, but if I don't know how to decode it or decipher it, then what is it really trying to tell me? There are a bunch of numbers and a bunch of letters and a bunch of words on the back of patterns, and things can get really confusing. So the point of this video is to clarify just the big mistakes to avoid as you're looking at these patterns. So the first mistake a lot of people make, including myself, are buying too many sewing patterns. And honestly, you don't even have to be new to this. You can be really, really far into this and still make this mistake. The reason why we do this is because of the shiny object syndrome. You see something new and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to have this. I need it in my life. That's with every seasonal drop. That's with just getting started. You see the new thing, you want the new thing. The problem with that is it can add up really quickly. You may just buy one pattern here or there, or you may buy 5 at a time because there's a lovely sale going on. You are looking at new things and you feel that you want it and you need it and you're afraid of missing out, which is understandable, but hear me out. One, patterns last a long time. It's not like dropping shoes and they're here today, gone tomorrow type thing. The patterns are gonna last. So you can stop and think before you purchase, okay? Also, when you get too many patterns, it is just a collection. It is a collection where you don't use them as fast as you buy them because sewing takes time. So you have to cut the pattern out, sew the pattern, fit it, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take you a while to get through these. And so when you buy more, you're just taking up space. You're probably creating waste. Also, if you buy all these patterns and you don't know what you're looking for, the information that you need to hone in on, you could be buying the wrong pattern. And a lot of wrong patterns is also waste, all right? So how we avoid that is check in with yourself before you make the purchase. Check to see if this pattern actually fits your style. Check to see if this pattern will actually work for you. Check to see if this pattern is actually something you would actually really wear, okay? We're not just buying things out here because they look nice in a picture. Actually check in with yourself to see if you need these, okay? In my sewing strategy video, I talk about knowing your personal style and knowing your why on why you're getting into sewing. Same concept applies here. Why are you buying this pattern? Does it fit into the lifestyle you need? Does it fit into your style? Is it actually adding to this experience for you, or is it just going to load you down? Also, because the time in which you sew them is not correlated to the time in which you buy them, I'm smart. Your style has time to change. Like you can buy a pattern today and probably not look at it again or try and use it for 2 years. And who knows if that style or that pattern will still be relevant to your life. So I say all this to say, take your time. There's no rush in buying them, okay? Also, if you're buying a pattern and you don't really know what you're looking for starting out, you could be buying a lot of the wrong thing. And we don't want that because that also creates waste. So take the time, learn what you need to learn, and then go buy your patterns. Make sure it's right for you. Make sure it fits your style. Make sure it checks all the boxes before you charge that card, okay? Another mistake a lot of people make when buying patterns is choosing the pattern based on the photo. So sewing illustrations have a photo or an illustration on the front of the envelope that tell you what the style looks like or what the style is supposed to look like. Now, what that means is the patterns sometimes often come with a photo. This is the pattern, this is the photo. This is actually the designer of the pattern. Now, I can look at this and say, this is a very nice outfit, I want it. But the thing you have to realize is this person does not have my body, okay? And that's going to be the case on a lot of patterns. They are not going to have your body. And this also goes on retail when you shop online. That body probably is not your body, so it's going to fit you differently. So you can't just go based off the picture because it's not going to look the same, right? I have to look at the style. I have to check it with myself and my personal style and know the details that I look for, know the details that I like on my body. Am I okay with wearing an oversized button up? Does the shape of jeans usually look good on my body, right? I can't just check in with this photo and make that decision. Now, I can look on the back and examine this information, which will be this way because this is right side up. I can look and examine this information and get a better idea of if it will work for me or if I can make it work for me. But I don't just want to use this picture alone to decide if I'm adding this pattern to my collection, okay? Because what you don't want is to buy the pattern and then sew the pattern and go through all the work and you think the style is trash. Does that happen sometimes? Yes. But you also want to try and avoid that before it gets a chance to happen, right? So you don't just want to buy a pattern because the picture looks good. The pictures are also styled and to look nice. So sometimes something may be tucked or pinned or fitted to have a better presentation look. So you have to keep that in mind with these photos also, okay? So don't just go off the picture. The third mistake a lot of sewists make, and it's honestly probably one of the biggest, is thinking that the retail size is the same as the pattern size, okay? The sizing in stores at retail follows the brand sizing for one, and then it's also just a different scale, a different setup than actual paper patterns, okay? So on the back of patterns, there's usually a size listed that correlates to the pattern pieces on the inside. So this one has size 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, okay? These are the sizes that are in this pattern. The way these numbers are listed, it is not the same as if you were to go into a retail store. This size 8 in this pattern does not correlate to a size 8 in a store. Better yet, let's go to mine, okay? Let's see. In this one, I'll be a size 20, okay? So the bust here is 42 inches, waist is 34 inches, and hip is 44 inches, okay? On the average, my size is probably a 16, which doesn't make that much difference, but there's a difference. Not the insecurity seeping through. I can't follow that here. So I can't use the retail scale or sizing to buy my patterns. This becomes an issue on regular size, but also plus size, just because the grading is different. How you get from one size to another is different. So you cannot shop at retail expecting it to fit the same, okay? So when you buy a pattern, you want to go off the measurements they give you. And that's just so you know you're buying the correct thing. You have a better understanding that the garment that you make from this will fit, okay? If you like this video and you're finding that it's helping you and getting you a little bit more confident in buying sewing patterns, you definitely want to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because we are starting a series on patterns. I'm going to do a couple videos on how to buy patterns, how to read patterns, how to put patterns together, how to print PDF patterns, all the sorts of things that you would need to know about patterns so you can definitely feel more confident when you're out in the street purchasing them yourself, okay? So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when all the new videos drop on this pattern series. Let's get back to the information. Next mistake people make when buying sewing patterns is actually a little correlation to the last one, is you're buying the wrong size pattern. This goes beyond just the breakdown of sizing, but sewing patterns, at least the prepackaged envelope patterns from the big 5, have split sizing. So there's one envelope for regular size and one envelope for plus size. You need to make sure that you're buying the right envelope, okay? I have bought the wrong envelope and honestly it's gone to waste because I didn't realize it and I was probably also a teenager at the time, so I wasn't like driving myself to go return it. But the envelope, I got the wrong one and it wasn't my size. My size was not in the packet at all, so I couldn't use it. So when you're buying, you want to make sure that your sizing is here. This is where you'll be able to tell that it's different. These measurements or the size of blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. All right. So the sizing, this is where you'll be able to tell it's different, okay? This one ranges from 8 to 26. And if there's another size of this one, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see what the size range for the other size is, okay? So when you're buying, you want to make sure that you're buying the right size. Again, if you don't, you'll either A, have to take it back or just be stuck with it, and that creates more waste. This hobby is very wasteful. We don't want to create more waste, okay? All of this is extra work. All of this slows down whatever project you may have in mind. So it's definitely easier for you to check, dot your I's, cross your T's at the beginning, and make sure your pattern has your size in it. So another mistake a lot of people make when buying a sewing pattern is not paying attention to the yardage. The yardage, or how much fabric you will need for the sewing pattern, is listed on the back of the envelope. It'll say this fabric, or it'll say this pattern needs such and such amount of yardage for this size, okay? When it says that, that is the amount of yardage you need. At least. You can get more, you can try a little less, but I wouldn't try a little less. But you need that amount of fabric, okay? The issue is if either A, you are buying this pattern for yardage that you have at home, for your sewing stash, or you're buying this pattern and you're gonna go buy the fabric afterwards, okay? So if you're doing A, where you're buying for the stash at home, you want to make sure and double check that stash at home before you make any purchases, okay? Because what really sucks is if you buy a pattern and you come home and you don't have enough fabric for it. You don't have enough fabric to complete it. Yes, sometimes you can jigsaw that puzzle of pieces to make it work, but ideally you don't want to do that, okay? So check and make sure that you have enough fabric, because it is hard to go back and get the same fabric, especially now Joann's is gone. I have to actually look at other retailers I can go to in person, but it is hard to fabric match. Things are dyed at different times. Things are ordered at different times. Maybe the fabric is not even in stock at that store anymore. If you've got that fabric years ago, which I do have a lot of stash that I got years ago, so I can't re-up on that if I don't have enough fabric now. You want to make sure you have enough yardage at home to complete that project. Now, if you're buying the pattern and the yardage at the same time, or you're buying the yardage after the fact, you still want to make sure that you get the right amount of fabric, okay? You still want to make sure that you're checking the back of the envelope and you're not guessing, and that you get the right amount of fabric. Because again, you don't want to have to go back to the store to get more fabric because you ran out or something happened. So check the yardage, see how much fabric you need, and go from there. So the sixth mistake people make when buying patterns is not checking the level of difficulty, okay? Each pattern will say how difficult it is to do. It's either going to be beginner, easy, intermediate, advanced, all that. It'll say on the front, okay? Now, the issue with that is if you're buying a pattern past your experience level or past your skill level. Yes, I'm all for challenging yourself and getting better and learning more, but we can take baby steps. We don't just have to like jump right in there, okay? On the front or the back of the envelope, it should say how difficult the pattern is. I'm assuming this one here is average. I don't think that's for fit. I'm gonna say it's average skill level. And that lets me know, like, okay, I should hopefully be able to do this. Even if I'm a beginner or I'm an average sewer, I should be able to get through this and work my way through this. Now, other clues that you can look at to see if you can get through this is checking the fabric, what the fabric requirements are. This suggested fabric is cotton blends, chambray, wovens, twills, yada yada. Those are very forgivable fabrics. Not forgivable, but easy to work with. If this says something like chiffon, charmeuse, silk, things like that, that's when you know the difficulty is difficulting, okay? If the fabrication is something that you are not familiar with, something that you have not used, then that means this is a little bit more challenging. So check with the fabrics, check the details, whatever trim is needed. Maybe you don't like maybe you don't know how to do zippers, maybe you don't like doing zippers. Check and see that information on the back here before making that purchase to see if it's something you can actually do or are capable of learning, so you don't get discouraged when this is open. Another way you can check to see how much detail is in something are these illustrations, okay? There's a lot of style lines, if there's a lot of strapping, if it looks like a lot of things going on here, that might mean it might be beyond your comfort level or beyond your skill level. Again, yes, you can take on that challenge, but if you're not that comfortable with it, don't get it, okay? Because you don't want to get the pattern home and then you feel discouraged and you feel like you're going to fail and then you want to quit sewing altogether, okay? If you want to go up in skill, I would suggest something not as difficult or intricate. The seventh mistake people make when buying patterns, and this is mainly for the thrifters and the eBay buyers, is not checking the pattern to make sure all its contents are in there before making the purchase, okay? So these patterns have been opened, they have been used, they have been cut, likely, and it is very understandable for things not to make it back in the pattern or not to make it back into the envelope, okay? So before you make these purchases, you wanna double check that what you need is in the envelope. If you're allowed, I haven't thrifted a pattern, so I can't say for sure, but if you're allowed, you want to open the pattern, check the instructions, and see the pattern pieces listed, and make sure all those pattern pieces are accounted for and in your size, right? You wanna make sure that the pattern that you're buying has your size and it'll work for you and you'll be good to go. There'll be no surprises when you lay it out at home. So if you're allowed to do that in the thrift store, do it. Help yourself, save yourself some time and money. On eBay, if you can contact the person and have them list it out, or be honest, good luck with that, of what the contents are. Now, to save from that, you can either A, leave it there if the pattern piece you need isn't in there, or B, you can create the pattern yourself. Now, this involves some pattern making skills, clearly. Depending on how many pieces are missing, you might be able to figure it out on your own. You might be able to craft this pattern piece on your own. Now, if there's a lot of pieces missing, leave that where it's at, okay? I mean, unless you are a skilled pattern maker, but if there's a lot missing, leave it where it's at. So avoid that mistake in thrifting sewing patterns that are missing pieces. We just went through 7 common mistakes people make when buying sewing patterns. So hopefully now you can approach this pattern buying situation with a little bit more confidence. You know what to look for and what to avoid. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because we are doing a series on patterns, on buying patterns, on how to read patterns. Almost anything that has to do with patterns, we are doing a series, and I want to make sure that you get all these videos that you need so you can buy these patterns with confidence and you can use them with confidence, okay? So again, subscribe button and hit the notification bell. So next week's episode, we're going to talk about how to read a pattern, okay? How to decipher the information on the front and how to decipher the information on the back. All of this information, okay? So if this is something you need, make sure you tap in and hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions on how to read the envelope and you want me to cover them in the next video, make sure you drop them in the comments and I will definitely get to them. Until next time, guys, keep designing your best life.